All right, guys. So welcome to the first podcast here at Cars and Vets. We have a special guest today. Every guest is going to be special.
I think so, yeah.
Is that a bad thing to say?
No.
Okay.
You mean like special or just special?
Just special.
Okay.
So
Not like short bus.
So Chris Vercher, thanks for coming, man.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, welcome.
So Chris Vercher was in the Army probably about the same time that Kenneth here joined.
I don't know. When did you join?
99. But I came in late. So
Okay. I joined in 03, so...
when I actually tried to first get in, they were doing the downsides in the Desert Storm. So in 91, they weren't taking anybody. They were getting rid of everybody. And just they didn't have a place for me, so I decided to go play college ball. So that's what I did.
Oh, college ball first.
Yeah.
That's
Is it
a new
basketball?
fact I didn't know.
Yeah, I played basketball.
Oh, right on.
So
How tall are you actually?
yeah, I'm like
Actually, I never asked you
6'4" and a half. Almost, depends on if I'm in shoes or not.
Yeah.
But I am about 6'4" and a half, honestly.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, joined in 99.
Yeah.
What originally drew you to joining?
Well, I'll be straight up honest with you. Like, when I tried to go in the first time and I couldn't, they wouldn't take me in. I just decided, like, I was a baller anyway in high school. Like, we had played in a state tournament in Texas. Like, to this day, still the largest game in the state of Texas. I think it's like 17,500 people at that game.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went to, after they went, you really couldn't get in the Army, I decided to go play college ball and got a scholarship and did some redshirt years. And I played basically 5 years, and it was a good deal. But, just like any kid, you meet people and you want to go out and you want to have a normal life. Well, if you don't have a job, which they won't let you have a job because players at that time, they didn't have all this NIL stuff and guys getting paid. So you had to either get a side job, but, with all the studying and workouts and study hall and film sessions.
Yeah, who's got time for that?
You don't have time for that. So we take out student loans. So we took student loans, and you do that over the course of 5 years, and then at the end it's like, hey, by the way, you gotta start paying your loans back, and you're like, whoa.
I didn't know it was gonna actually happen.
No, and so I didn't know I was gonna graduate. Because every young player thinks they're great, so they all think, oh, I'm gonna go to the NBA or I'm gonna play overseas and I'm gonna make a bunch of money, blah blah blah. And then reality sets in about that junior year, and anyway, the Army's like, hey, we'll pay it off 100%, and I was like, really? And they're like, yep. So I was like, okay.
It's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, so then I was like, oh, let's go in. Little did I know, though, it's all about those regulations and those books of rules that you never see. They might write 100% payback on your contract, but when they open that manual and they get to the reality of it, it's only 100% of the principal. So they're not paying any of that interest back, which was $10,000-$15,000 at the end of 5 years. And they don't tell you that until after it's all over. So anyway, but I enjoyed the military, so I did a couple years. And
so you came in 99. Obviously went basic and all that other stuff. What job did you go for?
I went into aviation, and I was told that I was going to be working on Apaches and all that.
Cool stuff, yeah.
You get to Fort Useless and they'll tell you, heck no, you're on that little bitty news helicopter. You're on a Kiowa. And you're like, that's not what our recruiter said, but none of that matters.
I'm pretty sure everybody in uniform, regardless of branch, had that moment where they were like, that is not what my recruiter said.
Hey, we should make a recruiter stories. Yeah, there you go.
Bring a recruiter on here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
for
that
sure.
dude's just going to lie out of his...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you'll both be signed up again.
Yeah,
right?
mine
that ain't
was,
happening.
I figured out my job when I was going to AIT in basic.
Really?
Yeah. I remember being, they were like, hey, PFC Ortega, you're going to Benning for your AIT. And I was like, cool. He's like, you're as a Bradley mechanic. And I was like, yeah. And I was like,
what's that?
I thought I was going in as, I think it was like a 15 Delta. It was like powertrain or something for helicopters,
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then they're like, he pretty much laughed. He was like, no, you're a Bradley mechanic. And I was like, okay, I guess I am. So that's kind of how it went for me. So
Yeah, there's no turning back at that point. You just go where they say you
it's
go.
done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, it was like that. But so did you start with cars before the Army? Were you into cars before the Army? Or
I can remember being 14 years old. My brother had a 7442 with a 455.
Oh, God, the good old 4.4 deuce.
The first time we worked on it, he forgot to put the plug back in it. We put all the oil dumped in the driveway, so he called it spindle top. And that car was pretty quick, for a big, heavy muscle car. Cars back then don't run like cars today. I mean, in the 80s and 90s, cars are slow.
Yeah,
you run 4-cylinder Dodge Darts and Cavaliers that outrun the Camaros and the Corvettes of my high school days. And so we had that 442, and we messed around with that a little bit. And then even in college, I street raced. I had a little 71 Chevy short bed that I built with my stepdad, and a little 400 small block. And so we raced that quite a bit, and I did a little bit of bracket racing with it. But there was nothing like street racing with it. Where I lived in Oklahoma, we did that quite a bit.
Where in Oklahoma?
We were down by Altus, like in a little town called Snyder. We had a little stretch of the highway that was pretty smooth, and we had it marked out and had a tire on the fence. And,
right. That's
so
pretty official.
Yeah. And there was only 1 or 2 farmers that lived near where they could really hear us, and they didn't
really care, actually.
We'd make a couple hits and we'd be out.
Yeah. What did you guys get, like, chased by cops like nowadays, or it was more like just get out of here kind of deal, same deal?
Not so much there, but when I lived in San Antonio, we used to get chased quite a bit. I had a little 89 Mustang GT with headers.
Oh, you're a Fox body guy too.
Yeah, and that's why I'm gonna buy a lot of. Everybody here is probably getting a sweatshirt for Christmas, because I'm gonna buy a bunch of sweatshirts when they do that street racing channel for that Mustang that Bill has.
Oh yeah, it's a nice one.
Yeah,
I was actually looking
it's
at
so
it.
nice.
It is pretty clean. Yeah.
And it's an 89.
I know,
just
it is
like the one I had in high
pretty
school.
cool,
So, but anyway, that was a fun car, and man, I'm lucky to be here today, because I was not smart when I drove that car.
So you had a Fox body too.
Yeah, that's how we were talking about it. I kind of got into more building the car because of that Fox.
Yeah, I had a 1990 Fox body.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I traded a 2000 Ford Focus for it, because I did the typical private thing. I got to basic and did the whole OSA thing. Went to airborne school, and the airborne instructor's first day said, "You AIT kids are not to buy a car.
Oh yeah,
you will not buy a car." And I bought one like 12 hours later at a 15.9 APR, because I'm an adult and I can do
the
that.
regular stuff.
Yeah. But I traded that Focus for a 1990 Fox body with like headers and intake and some like suspension. So God, that car was fun.
Yeah, and they see us coming a mile away. Seriously.
Oh, yeah.
Every kid that bought a car in AIT got 19% interest for the car with 180,000 miles
Dude,
on it.
That happens to me here. Like sometimes, and Michael can tell you about this. Like sometimes I will get like a private or something, and I would be like, okay, this guy, they will call you sir. They will stand up here, rest, pretty much almost like natural.
Oh yeah.
And I see it, and I
can't help it.
we're used to it. I'm like, okay, I understand what's happening here, and they're like, yeah, I want to put a turbo system on my whatever, and a lot of times it's like, we had one recently that was like, I want to say like a Hyundai Elantra or something. The guy was like, yeah, I want to put like a turbo kit on it, and I was like, dude, I love you, bro, but don't, like just drive your car. Just if you find something turbo, whatever. Like I've never even done one. Like I don't even know if they make this.
I don't know if
kits.
they make
Like I don't even want to get into that. So I can only imagine what dealerships go through when they have just a bunch of, especially when they come from AIT and you get that influx of brand new soldiers. So this is pretty much, what would you say to like a new private that is like just graduated AIT, he just got sent to the first duty station, and he's like, man, I can't wait to get that Charger, I can't wait to get that Mustang, because we see them all the time.
The PFC starter kit.
Yeah, so like what would you tell them? Like what would you say now that you have experience and like,
Man, I listen, and I have a private that lives with us. So he graduated from Chapman. This is his first duty station, which I've never seen that in all the times I was in the Army. I've never seen anyone. The first thing the Army does is get you away from your hometown. Well, anyway, he, I guess after high school, he moved in, or he was staying the night at our house with my sons. And next thing you know, he hasn't ever left. That was like 2 years ago. Yeah. And so anyway, he drove a little beater Focus, but it's always been to those young guys like, hey, just go buy that $1,500, $2,000 car and drive it for a year or two.
Yeah.
Because you see so many of those guys like we're talking to, and I did it. I bought an Isuzu Rodeo. Gosh, I overpaid for that thing, and probably paid double what it was worth. And they see you coming, and by the time you make your payment and your insurance, you're broke. You know, you don't have any money to go to any of these events. And
so you did the same thing kind of deal? Is that kind of how you did it too?
So it was a little bit different for me because when I joined, I'm 27. So
same. We were talking about it. Yeah, I was 27
18.
too.
I'm engaged at the time. We got married in between basic and AIT because I just couldn't afford rent and bills and everything, and all my whole paycheck's going to rent for her to live off base, and so we ended up getting married, and so I had to have her car for her. So I went and bought a car, but they saw me coming, and I just needed something, and that's what she wanted, so I didn't care.
Right.
And I went in as a PFC. I should have fought because I was done with college. I should have fought for that specialist, but I just didn't know any better. And and everybody thinks they do because my stepdad, he retired 23 years, sergeant major. He's a great guy. He was a post commander in Germany for 10 years, and he was trying to help me, but I didn't want the help. I wanted to do it myself. I'm a grown man. I don't need to listen to anybody, and that's who I built my little short bed truck with. And
Okay.
you get sucked into those deals. So I try to tell them guys, man, just don't do that. Actually, there was that little private at the car show that was revving up. He's got a motorcycle with plates on, and he's talking about racing me. Guy still has his boots on, like his desert boots.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, he's like, oh,
that giveaway.
Oh yeah, and he's like, I can, and it's like a little 400 or 350. I don't know. It's like it said R7 or something like that. It's not even an R6. And I was like, I don't have to worry about you. He's like, how come? I said, well, you got paper plates. You won't have that bike in 2 months.
Yeah.
Because by the time he's paying insurance at his age for a motorcycle,
especially a
I'm sure it's I'm sure it's $400 to $500 a month.
Oh yeah.
And his bike payment's probably another $350. Well,
yeah, the age is such a big part of insurance
absolutely.
stuff. Yeah.
And not saying he doesn't have any tickets or anything,
Yeah.
And
I wonder if like companies like not companies but like banks like USA, Navy Federal, they see such a high risk on like brand new soldier with a, like I was. And I don't think I was 27. I was also thinking that I think I was a little bit younger than that because math doesn't make any sense if I add up how many years I was in, whatever. But I think when I got out of AIT, we bought a 2012 Mustang GT, which at the time to me was like brand new, and the APR was somewhat high, and then I traded it in because I thought it was gonna snow like crazy in Kansas, like in Iowa. And I took that and I was like, okay, let me trade it in and let me I bought a little Focus ST, and then I traded it back in like in less than like 4 months.
So now you're
dumb. Yeah. So I did all that game. So now, it's good to at least like when you have soldiers walk in, you can tell you're like, I was in your shoes at least, And I'm just like, dude, no, like don't do it. It's definitely a bad idea. Like,
oh yeah. Yeah, my first Focus was a terrible idea. I mean, I told the guy when I bought the car, like, oh yeah, before you close today, I'm going to have exhaust and an intake in this car. And I did. And it was so terrible. It was such a dumb idea.
Do you think it's because, like, when you're in the military, like, you spend a lot of time, like, in my case, like, I spent a lot of time in the motor pool, right? So, like, all I want to do is just go home and start tinkering with something, right? Especially when I was building that Fox body that was prior to being in the Army. And when I joined, I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait to get out of AIT and get my car and start working on my car. Like my thing was go home, start working on something. So
I think a lot of it has to do, in my opinion, is one, especially if you're young, like I joined at 18, like I'm a man now. I want to do what I want to do. I bought my car. That's my name. My parents' name isn't on it, so it's mine. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
And then freedom. On top of that,
freedom.
I live in the barracks, so I can't I guess the word that people use now is I can't flex with like my barracks room. But I flex a little bit with my car, So I think that's a lot of it is kind of the same, like with people in Japan and people that are into cars in Japan is houses are so expensive, so we show off with our cars. I think it's kind of the same thing when you're in a barracks. Like, I don't have rent. I don't have to pay for water and electric. I could pour more money into my Challenger and make it super loud and really obnoxious and really slow.
Yeah, that's true. And also you have like the military, a lot of the military posts will have big for the town, because usually the towns are small, connected to military posts, like here, Riley, Junction City. So you have all these military guys that start making car meets, you know, and that's kind of like your, to me, that was the fun I could have in the weekend, you know, because I'm already making a payment, you know, my wife was working, I was working obviously, and it wasn't like a paycheck to paycheck, but sometimes it was, you know. And I made the wrong decisions a lot of times. That I remember for sure 2 of them that I felt like complete garbage, and I was like, okay, I need to be an adult, you know. I am putting like all my money into a part, you know. And then I'm like, at the end of the month, I'm like, oh Jesus, that account's not looking pretty. So yeah, that was kind of like my escape. That's the word I was looking for. Like that's my escape was like going to the car meet, having fun, start racing, you know, and now look what I'm doing. And it was all because of that. So it's kind of crazy how it transitions.
In some way, especially like when we were deploying all the time, you had guys just like the World War II days where they would deploy and go to combat and want to have that rush, that adrenaline high.
Come back and build that hot rod.
And you can't.
Right.
You know, you can't have that same combat high, so you got to find it somewhere else.
All that time to think about it.
You have all the time over there to plan it.
On the SIPRnet or the internet just going, oh, I want that, and I want that.
Oh, dude,
when we were deploying all the time, these guys, we were coming back with...
Oh, you're getting hazmat paid. You're not paying taxes.
Yeah, we're getting paid.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so these privates, you know, and specialists and young sergeants that are coming back after, you know, 9 to 18 months, you know, in the early 2000s when we first went to Iraq and Afghanistan and stuff, and they're coming back with a lot of money.
Or the bonus.
Yeah.
When you re-enlist.
Oh,
I've had customers now are stupid.
Dude, I've had people come in here and be like, here's my bonus, what can we do? Straight up, like that. And I'm like, at the end of the day, it's a business, so I'm like, okay, this is what I can do. But at the same time, I'm like, man, like...
That little bit of that NCO comes out of you.
Yeah,
like,
no, dude, yes.
Yeah, because it plays on your heartstrings.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of guys that don't have conscience. They just... And this town is bad about that. Like, if you go back to 9th Street and all them days back in the day, these guys see them soldiers coming and they just... How can I get this paycheck? How can I get this whole paycheck?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that, and I've seen it over the years, and man, it's bad. It's bad.
That links me to ask you about, so what do you do right now?
So let's back up real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
It's going to go into that, but when y'all are talking about what y'all did for the weekends, when I got stationed in Hawaii in Y2K, there was a calling, because if you've ever been deployed anywhere other than the mainland, you know you can only take one car. And I was like, you know what? These guys only have one car. Every time someone comes into the shop, the first thing they're do, they're on Craigslist looking for that beater, because the wife is going to keep the good car.
Yep, that's wife always keeps the good car.
You figure 12,000 soldiers on base, and 6,000 of them are going to need cars, second cars. So I was like, they have insurance auto auctions. You don't have to have a dealer's license in Hawaii because all those cars are abandoned. There literally is hundreds of cars abandoned every month, because people don't have the money to take them. They give up. They want to go back to Japan, China, wherever, or maybe even back to the mainland, and they just leave the car. And so now they get picked up by the tow trucks. They get taken to the lot, and they get auctioned off. And I could buy a car for $38. So I was going down. I was living on Helamano on a military base, but there was no gate because I lived in the pineapple fields out by Dole Plantation. And I literally would buy 10 cars a weekend. And the way I got started is I bought this 90 Honda Accord with ground effects, and it had a bunch of holes in it. So I just took some screen and bondoed and just made where it didn't have any holes in it. And sold it for like $2,500 within a week. And I took that $2,500 and I went down the mountain to Waianae to that insurance auto auctions. I bought 10 cars my first day, and I think I spent $900, $1,000. Wow. And me and my buddy, we were just going back and forth, and then all week I would work on those cars, get them cleaned up, and 1 out of the 10 wouldn't make it. we would just turn it into the junkyard and just eat it. And the other 9, I would sell off one ad for a Honda. I'd put a Honda Accord in the paper and someone called, and then I'd go, hey, by the way, I'm a soldier and I have a dealer's license, but I don't really have a building, so I don't have any overhead. So I can get you a car just pretty much at cost. I can save you a couple $1,000. And then every soldier on the airfield knew I was selling cars, so they'd come to me and say, hey, we got a new guy, what do you have? I'd be like, I have this, this, and this. I was selling majors and captains' cars in my unit. I mean, I'm not kidding you, I had money in my pocket every day. People were like, wow,
That's cool.
This guy's a E4, and he's just, I'm driving a different car every weekend.
Yeah.
And USAA kind of got mad at me after a while because I was putting cars on my insurance like every month. I was moving cars on and off. Well, they caught on after about 6 months. And so then I went in with a guy. And it was kind of crazy because there was a warrant officer and a sergeant major that were together, and they were cutting cars in half and changing VIN numbers, and they got cut by CID and went down pretty hard. But what I did is I knew a guy that was ex-military, and his wife was still active. His name was Ralph, and I wish I could find him, but I haven't been able to find him. And he paid for a little lot, big as this inside of your shop. Mm-hmm. And we would have to jack cars up on jacks and drag them because it was so small. Yeah, we had them it was so tight. And we were like 4 blocks off Waikiki, off the main boulevard. And if you know anything about Hawaii, once you get off the tourist strip,
it's not great.
Not a lot of guys.
Really?
It's not great.
No, they definitely don't like white guys.
Okay.
For real, because you're not local. And,
okay.
I mean, you have to think of 1 million people living between here and Manhattan.
Yeah, that'd be pretty crazy.
And only 8% are black or white.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't even speak English. They come over to visit from Japan or China, and they never go home. Mm-hmm. And so, anyway, we did that, and so I started selling cars. And I mean, I sold 109 cars or something like that out of my driveway in 1 year.
Yeah.
Wow.
And,
so before I joined the Army, what I was doing is I was doing the same thing, Craigslist flipping, you know?
Yeah.
And I used to buy, for some reason, I think I found like call it the loop or whatever, what people wanted. I was buying Ford Taurus. Just any Ford Taurus that was online, I was buying it. And they always had like bad rear shocks. So I would like fix them and park them in the Walmart parking lot. And then Walmart started calling me. It's like,
oh yeah,
is this your dealership or what? You know? And I was doing the same thing. My insurance guy, because it was like a little company that was working with like a bigger insurance company. The guy called me one day. He's like, I need you to come into the office. And I was like, okay, cool. So I walked in, and there was an older guy. He was super nice. And he was like, hey, man, what are you doing? And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, why do you have so many cars in your insurance? Like, you like insured one, drop it, insure another one, drop it. And I was like, oh, and I didn't know. I was just like, oh, I'll flip him. He's like, yeah, no, we can't do that. Yeah.
You need a dealer's policy.
Yeah, I don't think I stopped. I don't really remember. I don't think I stopped. But yeah, so I definitely understand that. Like, it was... Yeah. I cannot even imagine with military, because I was just doing it, you know, somewhere in Iowa, and I did it in Cedar Rapids, in Ames, Iowa, and I was flipping cars, and I was actually like, sometimes I would go to like a restaurant, and I would find like a guy that I sold a car to, and he's like, hey, what's up, man? And I was like, hey, how's your cars? You know, like I do now with the shop.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's awesome,
hustling.
you know? Yeah. Yeah, I was just working. It wasn't like dishonest work, you know, and that's kind of what we see here with like that one dealer, so that everybody knows. Yeah. Like the guy just disappeared, went to Colombia or some crazy stuff. So like, it's crazy. It's crazy stuff.
Okay, so you're buying these cars, you're selling them out of your driveway, and I mean that clearly demonstrates a little bit of forward thinking and entrepreneurial mindset.
It absolutely started my entrepreneur type lifestyle kind of. Now I came back here, then I got stationed here, and I had a little lot with about 8 cars, and I had a partner that had a dealership in Kansas City, and he held a license, and he did all the paperwork, everything, and then I got deployed to Iraq, and that just came to a halt.
And when was that?
Man, listen, like literally 6 months after we invaded.
Okay, so you were like
pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, I was boots on the ground 5 months after we invaded, 6 months after we invaded. I mean, Baghdad airport was still a mess. There was grass everywhere. Like, it was like we were still filling sandbags.
Yeah, just a crap show.
Yeah, I mean, I was at Al-Taqatum, where they found all those planes and the bombs under the sand. Mm-hmm. That's where I was 80% of the time.
What do you mean? What do you mean by planes and bombs under the sand?
So,
like in the airport?
The Iraqi, yeah. So the Air Force base is on this plateau there, right outside Fallujah and Habaniya, and they knew we were going to invade. So we had been giving Saddam tips, like tank in a bag and all that stuff for 20 years.
Okay.
So when we invaded them, well, he's just turning around and doing all the stuff we showed him how to do. So he was like, well, they'll invade, they'll be here for a little bit, and they'll leave. So the best thing to do is hide all their ammunition and hide all their planes. So they buried them in the sand. And when I tell you they buried them in the sand, I mean as far as you could see, we had skid loaders and dozers, and they were digging bombs and planes out like 20 foot deep, just as far as they could go.
Wow. And they did it actually all over the country.
Oh yeah, they did it everywhere, but that was just where the big cache was.
Burying all of their big stuff. I ran an incident in 2005, probably 70 miles south of Baghdad, and we were walking through this guy's front yard, and one of the infantry escorts tripped on something, and we kind of looked at it,
airplane wing?
and we're like, oh, what is that? So we like dug it up and kept digging, and we dug probably 4 or 5 feet, and it didn't take long to realize like that's a 4-barreled anti-aircraft gun.
Wow.
Like,
This is crazy.
yeah, like they did everything. You're like, oh wow.
Yeah,
all right, we're gonna drop some thermite on this.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember seeing those big anti-guns, like anti-tank guns, and literally there would just be rounds laying on the ground. I'm talking about live rounds, like they're like this, you know, and they're just everywhere. Like you could just pick all that up. You could literally buy an AK-47 down on the market for $7.
No way.
Oh, yeah.
$7?
$7.
Yep.
Yeah. And them dudes would come to the back gate trying to sell you Haji whiskey, and I spent some time at Ramadi. So my unit was 101st FSB, Forward Support Battalion. So I was the main supply sergeant there. I had changed my MOS from Hawaii. I couldn't get promoted. I had 792.
That's an aviation?
Yes.
Okay.
I was locked out. They combined like 3 or 4 MOSs into my MOS. And,
that's bad news. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So now you just got to flood.
And if you think about it now, aviation, how many guys do you know that are first sergeants that have an aviation background? There's like one.
I know
or two
one
people.
right now that just got promoted.
There's no IMTO, there's no slots for it.
Actually, he got promoted to like sergeant major.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, they had this thing called SMAP, and the Army's like, oh, we have these 7 NCO deficient MOSs, and you don't have to re-enlist, and you can change over to any of these 7 if you're promotable. And I was E4P for like a year and a half, 2 years, with 792 and 798.
Yep, that's you.
That's Michael's over there pointing to himself in the background.
I was like, infantry, Army piano player, and supply. And I was like, heat and AC. I'll go that route.
Yeah,
solid plan.
Yeah, so I was like, I'm too old. At this point, I'm like 30 years old. I'm like, I'm not going infantry. That'd be a mistake. Even though I was still athletic, I played all Army basketball for 1 year. Well, I went down and tried out, and I was still athletic. I was still playing on every base team I went to, and I was just like, man, I'm just not. My body's beat up. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
So I changed over to supply, and I got Fort Riley, and I knew I wanted to be back in this area because I've been in Texas and Oklahoma all my life, and
kind of in the same
being
area.
in the Midwest, I just wanted to be back in this area. And so that's what.
Plus, you knew there was racing around here.
Oh, it really wasn't that big when I got here.
No, like nothing like right now.
No.
Okay.
It's funny because I've talked to guys I can't tell you for years before you ever came here.
Yeah.
When you were still out in Milford, I was like, man, Junction could have a shop, and people are like, no, not enough cars around here. So you just need to go to Lando's parking lot. Like there are cars here. Like nobody thinks there's that many race cars and cars around this place, but. You have proved that point.
Yeah.
I promise you. And even today, people are like, oh, yeah, there's not many cars here. I'm like, you have no idea how many people that come in here. I mean, just people that come in that want to do that stuff. You know?
Yeah, we have a person that we're going to be inviting to come here, and he's I think he's like a lieutenant colonel, maybe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he actually brought us this plaque here. We did, he has a Chevy SS that he did his own blower, and the guy actually learned how to tune them by himself, kind of like while deploying and whatnot.
Right.
So he has a lot of like combat deployments, and I'm assuming he had a lot of downtime where he could just relax and just kind of went through tuning or whatnot. So, and the guy came here, and he kind of just one day just a beautiful green SS pulled up, you know. And Michael was like, hey, dude, this thing is clean. And he popped the hood and he started talking to me. He was, you know, super professional kind of guy. And he was like, hey, yeah, I started tuning this thing myself, you know. And he popped the hood and had a blower in it. And he was just like, the car already ran pretty decent. He just wanted some help with the math calibration and whatnot, and we could speak the same language, and like there is a lot of people in the area just like him, that you just don't know.
Yeah, you don't know they have cars hidden away.
Yeah, there's a chief here in Fort Riley that has that Firebird that is LS swap. He did it all himself,
Oh, that's a beautiful car.
You know which one I'm talking about,
the
right?
black one?
No, it's like I think he did like a...
Oh, is it
like
green?
a
The
rap.
Ukrainian guy.
The Ukrainian guy.
Me and him kind of bonded.
Oh, okay, that's right.
Yeah. So he... So yeah, like him, there's a lot of people. And that's one thing that I was very scared of when I started the shop. Because I was like debating doing like regular, like some job, that I had a couple offers to do some jobs, and I remember literally not telling my wife I had those offers. I had one for sure from Caterpillar, and I was just like, yeah, that doesn't exist. Because I really wanted to give this a try, So I guess that kind of links up to like how you started your business. Because I'm not gonna lie, getting out of the military, because I did the only reason why I did a second contract was because the first time I was too chicken shit to do.
Oh yeah.
To start.
The Army does that to you.
Yeah.
And they lock you in and they know it. That's why they're like, hey, you have kids. You don't have to pay for that.
Yeah.
You can pop out 50 kids, they're all paid for, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you have more kids, we'll give you bigger housing.
Yeah. And my bonus to sign up the second time was quite large. Like for my MOS, I thought it was pretty good at the time.
So I signed
Oh, okay. I know yours is gonna be ridiculous.
You know what my bonus was coming in? $3,000. That was huge. Like literally $5,000 was the max back in '99.
They didn't give me anything to sign up.
Oh, really?
But when I did my re-enlistment, they gave me, I think it was like 24K. Yeah. So
nice.
Okay, EOD guy. What did they give you guys?
You can buy a new car probably.
I had multiple guys in my 2009 deployment. Got $100,000
In 2009.
in 2009.
And now, for how long of an enlistment?
6 years.
And are they breaking that up in the first 3 years, or are they paying lump sum?
So
Okay, listen
those
to
guys-
this real quick. If
those
you're
guys-
an EOD guy and you are
gonna start going to some
you
push-ups
stay
and
in the
running.
army. You stay
These
right now,
guys got
especially.
$100,000 tax free, and the first paycheck that it processed, they got that paycheck was $80,000. So it was their normal pay plus all their combat pay, all that stuff, and then whatever that 100,000 got them to 80, and then the second paycheck on the 15th or whatever was their normal pay plus the remaining 100,000.
Okay, so
now I did not get a $100,000 bonus. Let me be
I like how
perfectly
he
clear.
broke into 2 people in his shop. He didn't say his.
I saw that. Yeah.
He didn't either, so no.
Yeah, I got a $40,000 bonus. I was
That's
stateside,
good.
and I waited literally until the absolute last day.
In what year is that?
This was 2011.
That matters a lot.
Yes.
So
That year, like,
yeah, I got a $40,000 bonus, so I took home 30 after taxes.
So I was like
and then
50
3
right now,
weeks
probably.
after I signed the paperwork, my bonus for the same time, because I was an E6 for 6 years, was 40,000. 3 weeks later, it went from 40 to 90.
Oh my gracious.
wow, that's
That
a lot.
hurts.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was
That
a
hurts.
straight kick to the nuts.
You want to talk about being on a high and then being on a low?
And the
Yeah.
worst part is like I was a senior EOD guy. I'd been an EOD guy for a while, and then I had guys that were like fresh out of school that like, oh hey man, I just realistically got $90,000. I'm like, well, you can go suck a
Yeah, big fat one. Yeah.
So when I was selling cars in Hawaii, I had 2 job offers to me, and one was EOD and one was dive school. Dive school, I was
That kind of
really
cool.
into that because I could really swim, and I was at Fort Eustis for all you people want to be technical, but and they saw me running and athletic, and they're like, "Can you swim?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then I found out they drowned you the first day, and I was like, "I'm out. I'm not doing that."
Yeah.
And then EOD, when I was selling cars, I met some girl that was higher up in there. I think I don't want to say she was a first sergeant, but she was E7, and she was like, "Hey, have you ever thought about EOD?" And I was like, "Man, I'm making money. I don't want to venture from that because that job I probably wouldn't be able to sell cars."
I wouldn't have the balls to do EOD. I'm being one.
But it was offered to me, and I turned it down for real.
Yeah. I mean, I've told people this a long time ago. They're like, well, what kept you in the Army? and I'll tell you, it was the chosen family of EOD. Like, I was born into the Hay family. I chose and continue to choose the EOD family. If I was an EOD, I'd have flipped the Army two birds a long time
You're out
ago.
on the airfield, right?
No, we're up on the hill.
Up on the hill? Okay.
Yeah.
I know
So-
exactly where you're at.
and
I drove that thing every day.
Yeah, we got a giant bomb out front. It's kind
Yeah,
of
that's
hard
where
to miss.
PT ends for
Listen, it's-
Ape Nines, right?
You are such a small. It's
We
kind
are.
of like aviation's different from the rest of the Army.
Yeah.
Just like medical's different,
Yeah.
right?
It's paradise.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for us.
So when I went over and now I'm in this FSB, and
Oh
I see,
yeah, you have like
it's like going from a local JUCO to going to like Yale. Like
Yeah.
that's the difference of mentality of those people. And I don't mean everybody, but 99%.
Yeah.
yeah.
know what I mean?
We used to have like when a Bradley would break down, we needed to make a bunch of the Bradleys. They just had a lot of issues with their oil system, so like a lot of the hoses will break. And I loved every minute that I went to aviation because if we couldn't order the hose and we had to make it happen to like go to the field, the Bradley was deadline or something, like it needed to happen. Our sergeant, motor pool sergeant, whoever was in charge, would be like, go to aviation and try to get a hose done. I was like, oh, I'm going. Don't worry, I'm there. And I will
I'm
get
out.
there and you'll see dudes just walking around like, hey, what's up, Joseph? How you doing, Michael? You know, and
Oh,
I'm just
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
what's
It's a
happening
different
here?
world.
You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
it was kind of cool, yeah.
Yeah, I've been on first name basis
And all
with
the
a lot of my sergeant
equipment.
majors and first sergeants and
Well, in
Yeah.
aviation too, you're around officers.
Yeah.
Warrant officers are like specialists down there. Like there's
Yeah,
that's
it's a
what all
dime
the
a dozen.
pilots are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those guys usually aren't hardcore. They just treat you like you're a part of them. They
Yeah.
don't treat you like, hey,
Oh.
he's only a sergeant. or
what's
he's
the
only a
word?
private. They don't care.
An adult.
Yeah,
What's
they
that?
treat you, they
Oh,
treat you
yeah.
like an adult, like
Yeah,
a person.
like,
Yeah.
holy crap,
You
imagine
don't do
that.
any of that stand-up, parade rest, or
I-
attention.
that stuff makes me nervous. Like, I
Yeah.
get like legit like stop. That's weird.
It's weird.
But
What's
when I
going
went
on?
to
What do you have in your
FSB, It was like I went back to a different military.
Yeah.
'cause
Yeah, it's a
now
whole
we're-
different
yeah,
world.
It's a
Okay.
whole different world.
So I think we're straying pretty far. So
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
you're an entrepreneur now. So what do you do now?
So when I got out of the Army, I went to Virginia. I'd met my wife now at Fort Lee, and it's a funny story. Maybe we'll talk about it if I ever get to come back another time. But I decided I was going to go back and be with her out in Richmond, Virginia. She has a really good job and running this big, like a Bailey's. It's a big corporate sports bar, like high-end sports bar. She's a promoter. She's like putting parties together for like NASCAR teams and like Jack Daniel's NASCAR for 5,000 people. She's putting these big elaborate parties together for them. And
That's nice.
yeah. So, and I met her when I was in BNOT.
Okay.
So when we had our class party, she put it on for us and for free. Got that place and all the other
Hell yeah.
NCOs got to go, and it was a really good time. And anyway, I was going to go out and be with her and get a corporate job and live the American dream, the blue collar dream. And well, by the time you get paid and paying child support for my two boys that are back here and all this. I mean, just money was tight.
Yeah.
We had started a little landscaping company out there on the side, and it was doing pretty well. And then I had that corporate job as a commercial buyer for a fiber tech company. And man, just wearing khakis and a collar every day, it just wasn't for me. And
Yep.
we
That
had heard, and she had been out here with me a lot. I used to fly her in almost every other weekend to be out here with me for like a year and a half, 2 years. And we had heard that Coyotes, we used to go to Coyotes all the time, and it was pretty rough back then. And we heard it was possibly for sale. So just out of the blue one time, she just says, hey, I called the owner of that place, and he said it was for sale. And I was like, let's do it. We sold the house in Virginia and came back out here and bought the bar. And,
So I didn't know that was actually established before. I thought you started that.
No, so it was. It had been going for 2 years before we bought it. And
Oh, okay.
Before that, it was owned by Jack Song, and it was Junction City Sports Bar, and it had a bunch of pool tables in there. And but now listen, when we bought it, there was no air condition. They had carpet. They could play cassette tapes in the DJ booth.
Wow.
Like it
Nice.
was like they had regular refrigerators, and then like convenience store refrigerators, sliding doors to get the beers out. Like it was
Bare minimum bar.
it was bare minimum. You could go out western Kansas, and that's what you had.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So we did so much upgrading, and man, it was booming. And we changed the business literally, because you got to remember back then you could still smoke in bars here. Like you can't even see across them. It's so
Yeah.
much smoke in
The
it.
good old
And
days.
everybody was so scared, like their bars are going to shut down because people won't be able to smoke in there. Believe it or not, when they did that, we actually got busier because now people that didn't like to smoke,
Yeah, now they
smokers don't care. They'll go
That makes
outside.
sense.
Yeah.
So,
Because you guys have like a really nice patio out there too.
yeah,
So
we built
Yeah.
that. That used to be able to park cars there.
Yeah.
There'd be literally 10, 15 cars pulled up right to the back door.
So if you're local to Fort Riley, I definitely like stop by Coyotes just one weekend. And
Yeah.
I'm not a drinker at all, but I've been there a couple times and I've said hi to you a couple times, and it's actually a relaxing environment. It's not like some crazy stuff like there was people like actual dancing, like actually it was a lot of fun. And I know you now, to a personal level. I know that you put a lot of effort into that. Like I've seen this man, like show up to the shop with like looks like he hasn't slept in about 5 days,
Yeah.
and that's probably close to accurate. And he has just a bunch of drinks in the back. He's just running around getting things done. So definitely stop by. It's an actual pretty nice place, but don't mean to interrupt. But
No, you're
definitely
right.
for sure.
And Junction City has a bad name. It really does. Like, and it drives me crazy when people say junk town and blah blah. That it's offensive because to me, there's no difference between here and Manhattan. We have a military base and they have a college. But
Yeah.
as far as good people, there are good people in every town and there's bad people in every town.
Yeah.
And it's whoever
People are
you
people, man.
whoever you associate with. But like the bar, it's not like going to, and I try to tell people all the time, it's a Texas bar in Kansas where nobody's from here. Everyone's from somewhere else. So
That's true.
everyone's friendly in that instance. It's not like going home and it's like, hey, they're not from here. They can't be here. This is locals only. Like if you go to
Yeah.
Hawaii and you go into the wrong bar.
Yeah, they're
they'll
gonna
be
toss you out on your ass.
Yeah, you're not from here. You got to go. And you're like, hold on, there's 300 people in here. Not everybody's from here. No, yes, they are. And, but so here, I tell people all the time, like, it's not what you think. It's so laid back. We very rarely have any issues there. And it's just a fun place to go.
So you've been the owner and operator of Coyotes for how long now?
18 years.
18 years.
And the thing about it is I try
That's
to
a long
hire,
time.
That is.
I try to hire a lot of military. And it's because we take care of military there. I've been down, I still have a soft spot for soldiers. I understand soldiers. You go to Aggieville.
Michael is an example.
Yeah.
Michael
Yeah.
worked there for you for
Yeah,
a
he
little bit.
bounced.
He was working here. He would leave, be like, "Hey, I gotta go to Chris's place," and I was like, "Hey, go ahead,"
Yeah. And
Yeah,
you
who
go
knows?
to
I'm
Manhattan.
looking for a job here in a couple months.
You go
Yeah.
to Manhattan, the soldiers are just a number. They're
Yeah.
they're just a dollar to those people. They don't understand military. They don't know what we go through. They haven't deployed. They haven't been basic. They have no idea. So they could care less. They'd rather see you arrested and drug out if you're causing a problem. To where we talk you down. We're like, hey, let us get you a free ride back to the base. We'll get you out there. Like we're gonna make sure that you don't do something stupid. And I take a lot of pride in that. I mean, I've paid for a lot of cab rides home for people. Not because they're there spending money. It's just because I've been in that shoes.
So, and that's what we were talking about earlier. Is it all goes back to that brotherhood part of it, that connection. Whether like I served with you in the sand or not, or whatever. Like I know that you have been through and understand what I have been through.
Yeah, speak the same language.
At least at some point, on some level.
Yeah.
So it's so much easier to reach out, and I love that about Coyotes and the fact because I'm not a drinker either.
I'm not either.
And I have heard that from multiple sources that like man, Coyotes is like it's a pretty chill place and they're gonna look out for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so
how does Coyote help you build that race car you got?
oh yeah, that was my question. So
I'm just waiting to ask that question because
Yeah.
that car is sick.
yeah.
So eventually, I hope to kind of do that and maybe promote a little bit of the car with Coyotes.
And what is the car?
It's a '65 Falcon. I can't say the color because Brandon might be listening.
Brandon, if you listen to this, it is a black Falcon.
It's a black.
I've
satin
seen
black.
pictures of it, and man, that's pretty.
Yeah,
It was
it's
a good
lot of
color
work.
choice.
It was a really good. It was a really good pick for me because it's a smaller car. It's gonna be light. Lando's gonna put the power to it, and hopefully we can make a little name for itself. And I actually have a little plan for that car. I'm gonna put my younger son in it. My 21-year-old.
So we need to turn it down. Got it.
Yeah, but we're gonna start him off on something this summer that's a little bit big block Mopar, 600-700 horsepower, do some bracket racing with him, do a little racing in Mexico with it, and get him ready for next season. I want to, and we're going to do a father-son YouTube channel. And,
nice.
That's
put the
cool.
car. So once we get the car together, he's going to start being a real big part of it.
So what power plant is going into the Falcon?
Is there anything other than a Coyote? I thought that was the only thing you could race with.
I think that's the only thing that goes fast.
I mean,
okay, so it's gonna be a Coyote motor.
I mean, we probably get
love the fact that it's
we can buy LS from Walmart, I think.
Probably.
You can actually.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. You can just get a Walmart
That is
motor.
kind of sad. Yes, you can.
But,
you can order it. Yeah.
Yeah, but we're gonna do the 5.0 with twin on threes probably.
Okay.
Power Glide. I've got the Power Glide's being built in Wichita from the Flip-O-Matic.
Okay.
He's phenomenal.
Really
if you go
good
back
stuff.
and look at that guy's, like some of the cars he builds, I mean, he builds some 5,000 horsepower cars. Well, he doesn't build those cars, but his transmissions are in those.
Behind those things, yeah.
I can't think of the name of that Studebaker, the one with the big blower out of Missouri that wrecked, that they rebuilt, but he's
God,
had his
I love
in that
blower
car.
cars.
And then the Kelly Blue Ball, no Prep King's car.
Okay.
His transmission is in that car. So this guy's phenomenal. And he builds them out of his garage.
Fantastic.
So,
Yeah. It's kind of like Tom. That's good to have. Like, I need to introduce you to Tom Williams. We were just there yesterday to pick up the trans for the S550, and this guy is he has two funny cars in his shop, and it's like a garage, but it's like a museum / shop in there. It's pretty
Really?
crazy, and it's just on Main Avenue I think it's like Marysville, Kansas. But
I know exactly. He's on the main strip.
dude, yeah.
Yeah,
He was
he's got-
actually yesterday. He was talking to me when I picked up the trans, and he was like, "Yeah, Big Chief, like Street Outlaws," and I'm like, "Yeah, everybody knows that guy." He's like, "Yeah, he was here the other day. He was talking about like this and that," and I'm just like, "Okay." And like, is the kind of guy that he can talk to you, and you almost think that there's some BS behind it. But then you look at the ceiling and it's just checks and checks and checks of all this stuff that he's won, like California top fuel stuff, like some crazy stuff, So it's good to definitely have connections for people that can put some stuff together, and usually those older guys
Absolutely.
that they know what the hell they're doing. They fail a million times, so you don't have to fail once.
Well, they're building cars back in the day, naturally aspirated, and they're dumping like $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in some of those motors.
Yeah.
To go as fast as people go today, like we're talking about building a Coyote with twin turbos.
Yeah.
That makes way more power than a guy that had a $40,000 motor.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I'm at my engine builder for my Mopar motor, and he's like, "Hey, they got this 632 here, all aluminum. It's he's selling it for half price." I'm like, "Well, what's half price? $45,000." I'm like, "Man, you go to the junkyard, buy a $3,500 Coyote, put some rods, pistons, and a crank in it, put some turbos to it, and make way more power than that thing makes." And I'm like, "What does it make? Oh, 1,200."
I think everybody in this room
Yes. Yeah.
is of that age where, like, I remember growing up in just outside of Houston, Texas, and if you had 700-800 horsepower, you were the big man on campus.
Nine
Now
second
you
bars.
need like 3,500 horsepower to be the big boy in Houston, Texas.
And then if somebody if somebody rolled out with 1,000 horsepower, like even the guys on two wheels are leaving that dude alone. Like nope, not do. And now like you can go to a junkyard, get an LS, do basically nothing to it.
Make it 100,
Why would you go to a junkyard? I thought they have those at Walmart.
Well,
again,
in case the junkyard just ran out.
I like LS. I'm just giving you a hard time.
Oh, no,
just so many people have them.
Yeah.
So what part of Houston are you from?
I grew up in Katy, just outside of
Get
Houston.
out of here.
Yeah.
So my sister lives in Spring. I got a sister in Humble. Like
Okay.
my whole family's from down in that area.
So yeah, like I grew
Oak
up
Ridge, Woodlands.
just off of Fry Road.
I know exactly where you're talking about.
Yeah.
I swore I'd never go back to Houston.
I actually went back not that long ago. My dad had COVID, was in the hospital for like 70-something days, and it was terrible. It was terrible because I always thought, I'll do my time in the military and then I'll go home.
Ugh.
And
That's the first initial thought everybody goes through.
and then I'll go home and
Yeah.
all that stuff. And when I grew up, there was a difference between Katy and Houston, and now
I-45 is like from a different world.
yeah, like I-10 is like right next to my parents. That is 26 lanes wide.
Oh yeah,
It's
ridiculous. And everyone goes 95.
Oh yeah, and I was doing 85 in a 75 and got my mirrors blown off by a lady in a minivan doing triple digits on a cell phone.
I tell people all the time, if you're not going 90 when you
You're gonna
come
die.
in from San Antonio,
Yeah.
they will run you over.
Yeah.
Smooth run you over.
Yeah.
It's
So that's one thing that I actually like about driving here.
I do. That's
Right? It's like you can actually, and I know this is like illegal to do, but you can actually be on your phone for a second and you don't have the risk of somebody is like being too close to you, or you're like gonna hit traffic in a hurry or something. Like, here's like, you drive, like, you can shut your eyes off right
That's
for
what
10 seconds.
no traffic. I can be wherever I need to be in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I liked, you know, and my wife went down there. My wife is from West Kansas and went to K-State, and, you know, and I've been stationed here for almost 7 years. And that's when I decided, like, for sure, I want to stay here, because home isn't home anymore.
That's what I tell people all the time.
Home is here.
When I go
is
home to San Antonio, it's my small town has like Range Rover and Ferrari dealerships in it now.
Yeah,
Like,
it's not
home.
It's not the same anymore.
I love it.
Yeah,
it's, it's not for me.
I'm good for about 4 to 7 days.
Yeah.
And then I'm ready to come home.
About that third traffic jam, I'm
Yeah.
done.
You're done.
Yeah.
And especially like even going to Dallas, it's 10 o'clock at night and you're in bumper to bumper and you're just like,
Yeah.
man,
And being a Harley guy, a rider, like I
you will
can't.
die.
Yeah. Like, and my wife was even like, "Oh, well, maybe we should ride down here someday." And I'm like, "Babe, I'm gonna be honest with you. We are either gonna die or I'm gonna kill somebody."
So what do you guys think about, since you know the area more than I do, what do you think is going to happen with Texas 2K that got moved to Dallas now?
So
what do you
I
think
think
the
it's
street racing is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen with like the track? Are actually people going to go there? Like,
I think so.
I think at this point, Texas 2K and all of the 2Ks have so much steam behind them that they can
Yes.
probably shift them a little bit
it's
left
too
and right.
large to fail at
Yeah.
this point.
I know
know.
some guys that go really regularly.
Yeah. And I went
Probably keep going.
I went to my first 2K right after I came home from Afghanistan, and or a couple months after I came home in 2013. And I was riding a little 750 Honda Shadow bobber, you know, and I showed up to the Omni Hotel, and I'm
Yeah.
the only moron there on two wheels with ape hangers like an idiot,
Yeah.
you know. And everybody's cruising around in, you know, 15, 16, 2,000 horsepower cars. It was crazy.
You're special. You're an
Oh, yeah.
EOD guy.
Yeah, I'm just the
You're something
moron that
different.
rode here on a little, you know, Japanese, like, wannabe Harley.
Yeah.
No offense to the people riding jet bikes, but Harleys are better. Just saying it.
Hey, it's what it is.
But I think at this point, it's gotten so big that I think it's going to hurt. I remember I had some family friends of mine that were, like, peace officers in the area, and during 2K you are not allowed to take a vacation.
Oh yeah.
Like,
All hands down.
like if
Yeah.
you have a baby, your mom better come help, because you're not going to be there.
Yeah.
Like, it is all hands on deck, all wheels on road. Like, we're hunting people.
yeah.
I think
Is
they-
Dallas Police Department going to be some crazy stuff like
Oh,
that?
yeah,
Or?
Fort
Absolutely.
Worth is too.
Yeah.
I mean, Fort Worth police cars, the back halves are cabs, or the front halves are cabs, and the back halves are cop cars, because
Really?
they joke with, like, if you're street racing or you're drinking and driving, that's where you're headed.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So-
And I know, like, I had a friend of mine. Well, I became friends with him. He was a state trooper that lived across the street from my parents. And that dude didn't even have a back seat. He put, like, whoever he arrested in the front seat. And I'm like, man, that's crazy. But Trooper Terry was built like a Sherman tank, so that guy was scary.
Yeah.
So I have a question about the track deal. We're talking about Houston. Now, Houston was sold, and that track is massive.
Yeah, is Dallas
Is
even
Dallas
close
gonna
to
be
that?
sold? And a lot of these tracks are being bought up right now.
Dude, I went to Dallas Streetcar Takeover a long time ago. I think that's my car still had like a Whipple blower on it. And I remember it wasn't huge. So there's going to be, I don't remember what the shutdown is like. So that'd be something to actually look into, because the road racing in Houston was crazy because it has such a massive shutdown. I don't know if Dallas is going to be the same deal, but I remember pit lane and all that stuff is not as big as far as I can remember. And then, because when I've been to Texas, okay, like the amount of people, especially the second time I went there, the amount of people is unreal. Like,
Yeah.
you get there Wednesday, Thursday, and you're like, oh, it's not bad. Yeah, because people are working.
Right.
You know, and then on Saturday it's like you can't walk.
Yeah,
It was
everything.
crazy, and like
Yeah.
trying to get the car to staging lanes. like people that have like I did, a small radiator. I didn't want to like get the car and just like idle it for 10 minutes, you know, like I'm trying to get there quick so the car maintains like, you know, a cooler temperature. And there's people just walking in front of you, it's like whatever, you know, because there's so many people kind of lose
you need a full like entourage to just like wedge snowplow.
Yeah, people are just get used to just like, I don't care. There's so many people that don't really care where they're walking around. They're just walking around, and you're trying to get there as soon as possible, as fast as possible. And people are just walking in front of you, like, dude, like I'm trying to get there, like get out of the way, you know. And it was pretty crazy. Like I don't know if Michael remembers, like Michael was there with us, and the amount of people, you know, it was pretty crazy. So I wonder how Dallas is gonna do with that. Like, are they gonna be able to put as many vendors in there? Are they gonna like?
I'm just wondering if they're gonna be bought and torn down too.
So
Dallas,
yeah. I mean, all the big tracks are being bought out. Small tracks are being bought out too.
I think the issue is like, yeah, Texas 2K, whether it's in Houston or Dallas or anywhere that they do a 2K, it does bring in a lot of money. It does bring in a lot of, and not just money for the track, but money for the surrounding area. But the problem is that
all the hotels, dude,
all
the restaurants.
It's only a certain amount of time a year. And my personal opinion is tracks in big cities or close to big cities, the normal people, the people that aren't like gearheads and like listening.
Well, you're talking about 1 week out of the year.
Yeah,
and 51 weeks out of the year, the regular civilians don't want it.
Yeah, they don't want it.
Right.
So they're going to start pushing local
like
governments.
Amazon, I think, is the one that bought the Houston track.
I thought it was like Amazon or Walmart or something.
They're going to push
for
them
like
out.
Warehousing,
and
right?
that track up on the East Coast, they're trying to buy it too. And the problem is these track owners, they're usually kind of like they have money, but they got bills too. You know, some of those guys are rich, but they still got bills. Yeah. And when someone comes in and says, "Hey, we're going to give you $150 million for this whole complex," because they're Amazon, they can just write a check. This guy's like, "I can get $150 million and walk away." Like that.
Right.
And that's the problem with a lot of these trucks are being.
Yeah.
It's stupid money that's being offered to them.
You can't blame him, man.
It would take them 50 years of being in business to make that money.
If the money doesn't work, like city and local governments are putting a lot of restrictions on them.
Exactly.
So that they can't make money.
Can't run after 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night.
No, there's all kinds of sound restrictions, and then they want you to put up like sound abatement and stuff like that, and that's not going to do anything.
With the whole
Karens of the world aren't going to care.
With the whole Cletus McFarland and what he had to deal with, right? When they went to court and stuff. I remember one specific person. I think it was a lady that was part of the whole deal, but what do you call it? The people that were doing this construction or whatever, they had one guy talking for them, kind of trying to like say, "Oh no, it's gonna be good, and the barrier's gonna work, everything's gonna be great," you know. And this lady pretty much said like, "No, like listen, like when I remember her saying, I walk out of my house and I live so many miles away from the track, and if the wind is right, you hear the track, like you're right next to it." And I was like, yeah, like you gotta understand, like
they're
a lot of
they're not only luxury homes next door.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the misunderstanding comes from that people that are not into drag racing or don't understand because they don't understand it, they don't know what it is. Racing, period. They think it's just gonna be a bunch of Mustangs, Chargers, Hondas going down the drag strip, and then they have an event that they have like top fuel cars and no time and things like that. The exhaust is just completely pretty much open and it's just extremely loud, you know. Like when they hear that, they're like, okay, that's what's going on with that Honda going down the track, you know. Like now you're dealing with like really high decibel stuff that a barrier is not going to stop.
No.
And sound will travel.
What they talked about was like, oh, well, we're going to make them sign waivers. Okay, well, when
those
Karen number one
will go away like
when
nothing.
Karen number one buys it and she agrees to the waiver, okay, fine.
My baby
but when
can't sleep,
Karen number two decides to buy that house from number one, she's not going to care.
No, I never thought about that.
She's not signing it.
And you start getting 300 people that all have that same problem, and they go to court, and it just gets thrown out.
And you can't fight that. Yeah. You're going to lose.
Eventually,
and it sucks because I really like the fact that like
he's selling out all his events.
Yeah, he's doing very well.
Yeah,
he's a good dude from what I can tell.
Yeah, he brings. I think he helped a lot of the community, especially with like drag racing, more like the street car scene and whatnot. Is to there's, in my opinion, there's even been product manufacturing and developing because of things that he has done.
Right.
Because there's been a lot more people involved in trying to make a street car quick and have fun with it or whatever. So like, if you, for example, like he's part of the whole like Cletus is part of the whole what is it called, Motion Raceworks team and
No,
whatnot, right?
he bought into
So
that.
like the whole TBM brakes and the shifter and all that good stuff. So like it's really cool stuff that's been developed, and I think there's a lot of attention behind it social media wise based on what he has been able to achieve. So that's pretty cool.
Well, and he broke out numbers about how much the community's bringing in on his
Yeah.
event weekends, and
Really smart.
tax revenue has, I'm not going to say doubled, but incredibly has gone up.
That's good. Yeah.
So, but we'll see. I don't think
So-
it'll last 10 years.
I wish him
Oh,
the
yeah.
best. I really
I
do.
do
I
too.
want to see him succeed. I want to see the Freedom Factory really do some cool stuff because I think they do.
Yeah.
But
Well, and they couldn't afford the land. Those people paid the owner of that agriculture land put such a price tag on it
Yeah.
that he couldn't even get developers all together
No.
to buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also you gotta think, I think the guy's in like his 20s, like mid 20s or so,
Yeah.
and he's a smart guy, and
Well,
you
he went to
gotta.
law school.
Yeah, so
he did.
he is, in my opinion, he's somebody that has a lot of people, a lot of good people next to him that are guiding him through what is a good and bad decision at this point. You know, because when he started, it was just kind of like all over the place, just like anybody
yeah.
else. You know, just doing a bunch of crazy stuff. But I think he has a good, smart group of people with him, and regardless of what happens with that track, mark my words, man, like he'll find a way. You know, and I think just by finding a way, and he's in like paradise right now. The state of Florida and racing is freaking insane.
is
The
You
weather.
know, it's the place to go.
And I mean, it's complex. Like all the stuff he's put
Yeah.
himself around, and now he's into playing. So now he's captivating that audience.
And he has a
himself.
fan base behind it
Oh,
to
yeah.
support.
he's
He's
not
set
an
on
idiot.
that.
No,
Yeah,
he's
not
smart.
dumb. Yeah.
He is not an idiot.
So now that we talked about tracks a little bit. So what are you trying to do with the Falcon? Is it going to be more like a quarter mile car? Do you want to do like
No,
drag and drives?
It's
prep?
it's straight going to be an 8 mile car. I would like to do like some Rocky Mountain Drag Week stuff. The
Okay.
whole thing I'm building this car for, honestly, is I want to go to the pad, and I want to go in the woods, and I want to do a lot of those type outlaw track races.
Nice.
When you go to the pad, I'm staying home. I'll tune you remotely. I'll just sit at home.
Yeah,
I'm scared of the pad.
So
Have you seen
I'll
that
tell you
place?
this.
Have you seen those videos?
Oh yeah, it's off the
Dude.
chain. But he's from Houston, so that's what it's like. You go to
Yeah.
Yellow Belly,
It's crazy.
like that race coming up, Jimmy Dell's race this weekend. You
Yeah.
want to talk about off the hook? That race in a year is going to be incredible.
See,
yeah.
but again, when I was in Houston, we didn't have any of that stuff. We just
right.
went up and down Westheimer like a bunch of idiots.
Oh yeah, Westheimer.
Yeah.
And Beltway.
Yep.
Oh,
yeah, you wanted to do speed runs, like high speed stuff, you went
Oh,
on
yeah.
the Beltway. If you wanted to do light to light, like what I called street racing back in the day, you went up and down Westheimer and until that got shut down pretty quick.
I'll be straight up honest with you. My goal is, and I was talking with Nate about this tonight, is when that car is done, I will probably go, if it's anywhere in the September, October, I'm probably going to head straight to Louisiana for a week. And the reason for that being is you can go down there to the pad and you can unload that car and you could run that thing 50 times a night and ain't nobody going to mess with you.
Yeah.
The cops are not coming down there to mess with you. They don't have time for it, and that's why so many of those races go down there. If you look, there's some little outlaw production guys, small time guys that always have a race almost every weekend down there, and guys go down there and make hits, and then they jump in these little shootouts, these little cash day buys or whatever. But
Yeah.
I truly would like to be that car, be in the mix with a Ryan Mitchell, maybe not as, and he's almost untouchable, but the the Kendall Goins and those kind of guys, like the Billy Hoskins, like I want this car to chase. And if it, you know what, in the reality of it, at my age, if I don't have a motor that can make that, then we're just gonna buy one of those. And
But you gotta think about, like, when it comes to no prep stuff, like that's, and I think the name of the track here in Kansas, the track now, the airport, the Equalizer,
yeah,
is a perfect name for it, because it literally just explains, like, you have people like the Ryan Mitchell guy, like that car has put down power probably a lot less than some other people
Oh,
have.
absolutely.
Like some people might have like a 1500, 1800 horsepower motor just ready to roll, and this guy's just hooking and booking quicker. He just
Well, he
puts
knows
the
his
power
car.
down very quick, very fast, in the amount of time that other people can't. It's simple as that, So his A to B is so much faster than probably people out there that are overpowering, so.
I'm a firm believer in overbuilding and turning back.
Yeah.
So you have
Yeah.
longevity.
Yeah.
You know, versus a guy that builds a 800 horsepower and he needs 1,000.
Yeah.
You know, to be able to compete.
Buy once, cry once.
Yeah, and I
Right.
think you made the really right decision going to Brandon because like you spend a lot of money into the car. You're kind of like me, like we've put a lot of money into it, but we
Right.
have like a vision behind it, you know. And I think that's very important to like somebody that is like maybe also, you know, like us, like in the military, and you want to build a car or whatever. Might look like, how do you call it? You might be like, okay, let me just put like a blower on it real quick, just have fun with it, you know. That usually doesn't last very long.
No.
Very
not at
quickly
all.
you'll find yourself getting beat by another dude that has maybe a lot less than you do, but he's just faster.
So-
and then you're like, okay, what am I doing wrong here?
Well, I really think it boils down to, again, just in the military, we talk about come up with a plan, finalize the plan, execute the plan.
Yeah.
Like,
And
I
you're
think-
not found when you're done racing and you got beat by some guy in a Fox body from 1980 something, and they're
Yeah, but now,
now it's time to
like,
adjust fire.
it's so easy with like project cars, and we've all done it, like where they
Yeah.
just spiral.
Yeah, they just,
And if you don't have a clear target, you're chasing every bunny that jumps across your path.
right.
You know? So again, have that plan,
Yeah.
or what do you want to do with it? Make a plan, stick to it.
You know, honestly, what makes those guys really good, the Billies and the Ryan Mitchells and those guys,
Beater bomb.
Beater Bomb especially, is they're not like most guys. They don't have to call someone and say, hey, I can't come in today. They work for themselves like me
Yeah.
and like you.
Yeah.
And I promise you, when I get my mind set to something, you're not going to outwork me. So when this car's done, like I told you, my plan is if it's cold, like I figure this car's probably going to be done around August to September, maybe October. That's why I want to go to Pat for a week, because I'm going to put 100 passes on that car pretty quick.
Yeah.
And we're going to get to know that car. And if it breaks, then we'll fix it. And if it doesn't, we'll just keep running it. But we're going to know real quick what that car can do and what that car can't do. Because I honestly believe that's what makes people super fast is they know their
Testing.
car. They can look
Yeah.
at a surface and go, my car can do this on this, and know right where the edge is. Where a lot of guys, they think just putting money in the motor and a power adder is going to make them fast, but they don't have the suspension.
Yeah.
They don't know how to set the suspension up. Their instant center is definitely not right. Like, they don't have the right tires for that surface. Like, there's so many variables.
And,
Yeah.
and thinking about talking about that, like you have a lot of people that think that a program is all you. It never is.
No.
It never is. And if you think it is, you should try to steer away from that. You know,
Absolutely.
I learned that not the hard way, but I was able to like. I had information from a tuner, and I had information from chassis guy, and I had information from an engine builder, you know, and he has actually helped me grow in every single area, to the point that if I'm at the track and there's like, I don't know, I don't have any support there or whatever, I'm able to do a lot of these things because I've actually opened up to have information from them. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of people like, oh, I'll build everything in-house. That's cool and all, you know, that you can do all that stuff. But usually if you're trying to go really fast, you know, on what you're trying to do, it's good to team up with people, you know. And I think that relates a lot to like military. Like when you have your brothers and sisters next to you and you're like, okay, like I can't even zero my weapon, you know, like I don't care, I'm gonna try to like little stuff.
Oh,
you know?
I mean, I know it's really like, I guess the word cliche is cliche, but like teamwork makes the dream work, man.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
It actually, like, is it really? Does it kind of hurt my soul a little bit to say it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's kinda-
But is it true? Yeah.
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 And
Like,
do you think there's a difference between like a veteran and another person that has zero military experience when it comes to asking for help? Do you think that we ask for help quicker, or we're more open to have opinions and people kind of put their hands in your car as well just to try to help you out?
I think it depends on who we run across. Like, I'm comfortable here. Like, I trust because we think the same. We've all been the same, and I think that mentality when you see a civilians don't get it, and they don't know who to trust, who not to trust. Sometimes they overtrust. Like, but for like us, when we come down here and we talk, it you feel more of a group. Even though like some of these guys I don't even know, but I show up and they're in uniform and we just hit it right off the bat because we all kind of think alike,
Yeah.
And I think it's a bigger deal. And I think if you look back, and I know this kind of sound cheesy, but if you look at Street Outlaws right now, right, Fastest in America deal, who's doing the best on that show right now?
Actually, I don't know because I don't.
You haven't watched it?
I don't watch it much.
It's Cali Nate. It's all the guys, Beater Baum and Marion Mitchell, and all those guys that really street race together are working as a team. And I think that's what this shop will have a lot in common is we're all ex-military, we all think on the same basis, and we're all going to have a little bit different of a car.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
where he's doing, the Texas 2K stuff, and I'm out on the streets of Mexico, and but yet we all will help each other. He could call me tomorrow and say, "Hey, I need help. We're going here, blah blah," and I'd get in the car and I'd go.
Yeah.
And so where the other racers, they're all independent, track racers, and they don't have that same cohesion.
Yeah, it's camaraderie.
Yeah, I'm the kind of guy like sometimes I'll have like a remote tune or something and it's like 12 o'clock at night and somebody's at the track or something and I'm pumped. I'm like, hell yeah, let's go. Like I dream about having to like stay awake for 2 days building a car. Like that's my cool thing. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like I wanna look back at those things one day and be like, yeah, I did that and it was pretty cool. You know what I'm saying? Like just going up to a shop and working on a car, whatever, yeah, that's cool. Like you'll do it every day and whatever. It is what it is. But like the cool stuff is that, like, hey, we're going to, for example, like we went with Michael Snyder. We went to Kansas City and we're like, let's go racing. It's like 5 o'clock in the morning. We're coming back, and I'm just like, dude, it could have ended at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I still would be pumped. I'd be like, it's fun, So to kind of end the show. What would you say to a guy that is in the military right now and he's kind of like...
Or somebody like just thinking about coming in.
Yeah.
So, we were talking about it earlier. I think if I had to give advice for a young soldier, and that kid David bought that Mustang that you built.
Oh, yeah.
The white one? That 2011. And it makes more power than a regular 2011.
Yeah.
It's to save your money. And get yourself in with a group kind of like this and kind of learn a little bit before you just jump head into it. Because the problem is guys that show up here and they're like, hey, I just want to put a turbo. I don't know. I just want to do a turbo. I don't know. They really don't even know what they want. They may put it together and not even know that it requires the maintenance that it requires. Or
you put it together and, man, this sucks.
It's not what they wanted or expected. Yeah. So sitting down is definitely one of the things I put a lot of emphasis in.
A guy goes, I want a stage 2 or stage 3 on 3 kit. And next thing you know, he doesn't realize on a stage 3 he's got, every...
The good old famous stages.
5 passes, he's got to change the plugs and change the oil. And next thing you know, he's out a couple $100 or $1,000. Like, they need to step back, get in a group, do some cars and coffees, go to some stuff and learn and see what works, what doesn't work, what they can afford, what they can't afford. Because you see a lot of guys jump in, next thing you know, they don't have the funds to do it.
Yeah.
Which they don't even need to have that. If they had just a good running car, right, and it ran good, it may not be the fastest thing in the world, but they could save their money and build it over time.
Yeah,
but if you're getting $100,000 bonuses, let's say.
Hey, so if you're an EOD guy and you're getting $100,000 bonus,
you know what? Don't hate me
I
for
know
your
a
poor career
place.
choices.
Okay, this is what you do. You go to Coyotes, you have a couple beers, and then you send me a message and tell me what you want.
You should be wide outline 24 hours a day, right? Spontaneous.
It's not my fault. All right.
It pretty much is.
You got the infantry guys that are the queens of battle. You got the artillery guys that are the kings of battle.
Yeah.
That's the EOD guys. We're the rock stars of battle, man.
Yeah.
I got a plaque with that on there.
What do you do? You just have like pliers and you just go cut wires?
They
pretty much what you do?
Red or blue.
No. Yeah. Just close your eyes and cut.
Everybody says red or blue. They always make it out of the same color wire, man.
Really?
Yeah. I have done probably over 700 IEDs in my career. So I have never come across an IED that had red wire, blue wire. Never.
So I got an IED coming home from Iraq in my 5-ton. Literally blew up from... we were out in the middle of nowhere, and there was a water box in the middle of the road, and I was 4th in line, and I was driving my 5-ton because my spy clerks were all females, so I put them on the plane and sent them home. Mm-hmm. I was not going to allow myself to get on that plane and have something happen to one of those two.
Right.
So here I am. They slam on the brakes. I look down. Literally 3 feet from my truck, this water box is rolling black smoke. You couldn't see a foot on the other side of it. Okay. So I start bumping the 5-ton in front of me, and we're yelling. I have a guy in the turret with a Mark 19, and we're yelling. We go. This thing blows up literally 30 feet after I pass it from my bumper.
Wow.
Like, I can still remember one blew up, and that's why we stopped. And I can remember feeling the heat on my chest through the windshield. And I know that sounds weird, but I was drinking an ice cold Coke. Lukenbach, Texas was on my little radio that was dangling on some cords.
Yeah, off the
And
550
next
cord.
thing you know, and what they had done is they had 5 tank rounds daisy chained together on the side of the road. They were wanting us to dismount, and then they were going to punch those 5. I mean, these things were massive. It would have killed a lot of us.
A lot.
Yeah.
And so we had talked before we left that if anything happened, we would go 4 or 5 miles, pull over, and then call EOD. And then that's what EOD sent us the pictures the next day of what they had in store for us. But it was a close deal. I'm like, man, I'm on my way home.
Yeah.
Like, just let us go home.
Yeah.
So anyway, EOD was a big deal.
Yeah.
Do you remember when they were dropping the bombs in Fallujah the second time when they just shut it down and started dropping like 800-pound bombs? The Air Force did on Fallujah.
What year was that?
Man. So we had took over Fallujah, and then we lightened up, and then we locked it back down and started dropping bombs on them. Well, I'm going to tell you something. That was the night that we took off to go home. And we had a trailer break. And we literally were standing on the middle of the highway
Watching
the bombs drop as Marines were running out telling us we can't be in the road. And they were all on, like literally when you had your NVGs on, it looked like ants.
Yeah.
And they were literally 100 yards apart firing AT-4s and RPGs back and forth to Marines in them. And watching them bombs go, it was absolutely insane. We're all just standing on the highway, like 100 and something of us just going,
Watching.
We're not leaving until we load that truck onto the wrecker.
Yeah.
We had a trailer right now. But anyway, back to what we were talking about. I just think soldiers should, take their time, figure out what they want. Don't jump in and spend money that you don't have.
I think with anything, you got to treat it like whether it's your time, your money, or whatever, you have to think of it as an investment.
Yeah.
You have to think of it
Absolutely.
as an investment. And don't do what I did. Don't buy that car for 15.9. Don't do it. It's really dumb. And like you said, save your money, learn, hang out with some folks, and
Make you jump on be the guy that airs the tires up for a little bit.
Yeah.
Just learn the process of it.
Yeah.
And then you'll get a good car out the bat and not that jacked up POS.
No,
And I met, being a Bradley mechanic, when it comes to like trying to relate it to cars, I met a lot of mechanics that were just like, man, I really want to get into cars. And I used to tell some of them, I'll be like, no, you don't. And they'll be like, what do you mean? And it's like, you don't, because I used to like look at the schematics, right? I used to look into the schematics, and because I wanted a challenge, because I was kind of bored with what I was doing a little bit. Like I was a part swapper, so to a point, like I knew what I was gonna do. For example, like if we had a Bradley go down, I'd be like, hey, we're gonna swap the motor. I know exactly what I'm gonna do, so there was no surprises. You know what I'm saying? So like I took a lot of like pride in figuring out electrical problems, right? So like I was like, okay, that's something that was my weak point, so like I started doing a lot of schematics, and I really wanted to get into that stuff, and that actually helped me get into wiring more in depth, because I didn't have that that experience, right? So if you're out there and you're like thinking about, I want to get into motors, I want to get into the transmission side of things, I want to get into suspension, wiring, whatever it is, and you're in the military and you're like in a motor pool or something, there are so many ways that you can get into that stuff. And a lot of times, like if you have downtime, like we had infantry guys, right? There's one guy who has a Fox body now. I think he lives in like Virginia or something. Bolmar is his last name. And I remember he was a car guy, and I kind of linked up to him because he was like, yeah, I'm into drag racing. I did like 8th mile. My dad had a Camaro or something, like really actually cool stuff. And he was an infantry guy, but he would go to the motor pool, help out, and you could tell he could turn a wrench or whatnot. And I remember seeing a lot of infantry guys in my company just sitting there on their phones all day, every single day, And a lot of them were car guys that I would see at a car meet later on. So if you find yourself that you're one of those guys, like, go to the motor pool. Go talk to a mechanic. Find something to do with it, because I guarantee you'll learn something that at the end of the day you're going to put into your car, and you're going to be like, I literally learned that because I was turning wrenches with some crazy mechanic that actually knew what he was doing. So there's a lot of good things that you can take advantage of from that in the Army when it comes to that. From my experience, anyways, you know.
Well, yeah, they even have that building where you can go rent the tools, and they have.
Yeah, what is that called? The
I don't know.
what's it called?
I know it's.
The skill center. Yeah.
And I mean, I know they're kind of strict, but I mean, for a guy, even if he doesn't know anybody.
Yeah, but you have it right there. You do the thing, you know.
And I think that class that you have to take is like 2 hours.
Who cares?
2 or 3.
I mean, yeah, but that's more of the safety thing and being able to use the lifts and and all that. But I mean, the tools are there for you, and I think it's free.
Yeah,
it's free.
Some stuff you have to pay for, but still, you have access to
Don't you have people there that like help you out and everything? Do you have like somebody in charge or something?
Usually older guys.
I'm gonna hop in real quick and just say, so yeah, it's usually a couple of older gentlemen. It's not free anymore, unfortunately. You do have to pay for the lift time.
Yeah, but it's like $6 an hour.
Yeah,
or
it's
something
not
like
expensive, but
Stupid.
I am not gonna charge you $6 an hour. So if you're looking for that, you should definitely go to the skill center.
Yeah.
You see, it's perfect.
So the class is basically just like it's a walk around, and they're like, here's the toolboxes. Here's where you sign tools out that aren't in the toolboxes, and here's how
So you
work
already
the
have actually tools that you can use too.
Yeah.
Oh, they
so-
have a whole tool room for you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Man,
at
that's
the-
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, because the last time I used it was for when the BMW, the water pump failed, and I wanted to do it myself. So, yeah, it took me like a whole week.
Yeah. So do most bases kind of offer this kind of deal?
Well, every
Or?
base has a.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know that the one on Hood is called Sprockets.
Yeah.
So, or something like that.
And is this like
And they got
all across, like Army, Navy, everybody?
I
kind
don't
of
know
deal
about
has
any
it?
other branch. I just know the Army
So
has it.
when I was stationed at Indian Head, one of my civilians wanted to put an exhaust on his 300, so he bought a kit, and we went over to the Navy base across the river in Virginia, and I mean it was $6 an hour to rent the lift, and
they don't let
took
you
some
leave your
axles
car
to-
on the lift. You have to push it out.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
They don't. They won't let you have they'll have long-term projects and short-term projects, and the long-term projects have to push off the lift. You just can't just take the lift. You know.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
next
cool.
thing you know, your car's up there for like 3 weeks. You know, no one else can use it. So they do that. But I've used it back when I was a young private, and
I think
it's cool.
Yeah,
It's cool.
take your time, learn, and get linked up with people.
Yeah, and you'd meet people there if you went.
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
just like anywhere.
Yeah.
And you're around the people that if that's what you like to do, that's what they like to do. So you have
Yeah.
something in common.
And you know what? If nothing else, it gets you out of the freaking barracks.
Oh,
right.
absolutely. Yeah. Well, guys, thank you, Chris, for coming.
Man, I
really
appreciate it. Had a good time.
Yeah, it was
me
great
too.
to have you.
It was a great
So.
first podcast.
Yeah,
Actually,
I
I
think
was
so.
gonna be worried about like we're gonna have enough to talk. Man, we can probably do this for about 3 hours.
Yeah.
But all right, guys, thank you very much for watching. Like, subscribe, share, and then continue watching some of the podcasts we're gonna start posting here soon. We'll also be doing some reveals on the car and what's going on. And yeah, see you guys in the next episode. Thank you.
Thanks for watching.